Welcome to the Nebraska Hawk's Nest. These guys are brave. They're Hawkeyes living in enemy territory. Listen, these guys are way past their prime, but they're still Hawkeyes. They're spreading the Hawkeye hype to all of Nebraska. The frost advisory is canceled. Corn huskers, more like corn suckers. Are you ready for this podcast? Let's go Hawks!
All right, let's try this again. Welcome back to the Nebraska Hawk's Nest. We are lucky enough to be joined by Iowa Hawkeye legend Abdul Hodge. How's it going, man?
It's going great. It's doing well. Thanks for having me on the podcast. Appreciate it.
You still look like you could play.
I may have a couple reps in me, but that's about it. And then I'll call timeout and get off the field.
So I see, I don't know if all Iowa fans know this, but I can see you're rocking that USD gear right now. One of my favorite logos in all of sports. That's a sharp looking logo. Tell us all about what you have going on right now, how life is with coaching, and how the family's doing.
Everything's going great. Currently I'm the outside linebackers coach at University of South Dakota. Also act as an NFL liaison. I'm going into my third year here. My wife also works in the district. She's a family outreach coordinator for the Vermilion School District here. My son, AJ Abdul Hodge Jr., is in middle school. He's going to the 7th grade. My daughter went off to college. So once my daughter went off to college and I did the whole travel softball thing and I started getting into coaching football on the high school level and kind of got that itch.
Oh, yeah.
It was time to kind of transition to the next level. And, one phone call here and one phone call there and an interview here. And next thing you know, I'm in South Dakota coaching with the Coyotes. So it's been great. We're going into my third year here and looking forward to the season.
It's very, very close to where we are here in Nebraska. So that's a beautiful campus and a really cool town and a nice little hidden gem up there. And, we got to let all those Hawkeye fans know if you got any time free, pull up that USD schedule. We got to get up there and support our guy. We've already made plans, Abdul. We're coming up for a game. We're going to rock our Hawkeye gear. We'll have some South Dakota gear on too, but we got to support you, man. Wherever you are, wherever the Hawkeyes are, we got to go support, especially you're like a half hour from where we are. So it's not that far of a drive at all, but I need to know if I'm going to come up, how's the tailgating up there for football?
South Dakota is a college campus, man, centered around sports and the football and sports and academics, but, tailgating gets a little crazy. So come on up and have a good time. I'm pretty sure it'll be a ball for you.
All right, cool. That's always a big part of the fan experience. You got to have a good tailgate. Yeah. And I haven't tailgated there before. I've heard good things. So I'm excited to come up for a game and see it. And we'll make sure to cheer nice and loud for you and hope you guys have a successful season this year. We want to start back at the beginning with you coming out of high school out of Florida. What were a lot of the schools that you were really taking a look at? Who was really hot on your trail? And what made you decide to become a Hawkeye?
Coming out of high school, I was, well recruited. I took my first visit to Auburn University. So I had visits set up for Auburn, Iowa, Wisconsin, and probably Boston College or so forth. And the funny thing is, and this is a true story, you get 5 visits. So I figured, the first 2 I'll play around with. So David Walker was a guy on my high school football team. And he wanted to go to Auburn. He was interested in going to Auburn. I said, you know what? Let's take our first visit to Auburn, and let's go out and just kind of enjoy the visit. And then the second visit, I was going to play around with was Iowa. And the only reason I was coming to Iowa was to hang out with Benny Sapp, was to have fun with Benny Sapp.
Okay.
Childhood friend of mine. He went to middle school with us, high school with us, played on the same high school football team. And then George Lewis and a lot of the guys from the area was in Iowa. But so that's the hold on 1 second.
The timer go off on the lights there.
Yeah, the timer went off. So that's the only reason. Sorry, that's the only reason.
Okay.
That's one of the only reasons I came to Iowa was because to hang out with the staff. So after the first 2 visits, I would then get serious, and then obviously buckle down the last 3 and find the school that I wanted to go to. So came up to Iowa. Coach Bielma was recruiting us down there, and man, I did not expect to see what I saw at Iowa, and not expect to meet the type of people that I met at Iowa. I love the visit. I love Norm Parker and Coach Doyle and Coach Ferentz and all the other coaches, Phil Parker and what they had to offer. And more importantly, the community. It was centered around football. It was a football town. It was a sports town. They love their student athletes. And just going to Iowa was awesome. And I saw how, guys like Benny Sapp and Fred Barr and Colin Cole, how those guys was taken care of. And more importantly, those guys played early. A lot of those guys played early. And that was big for me to be able to play early. And more importantly, playing a great conference like the Big Ten. So, so I committed to Iowa, canceled my visit to Wisconsin, and the rest has been history. So it was awesome.
I don't know if many people know that. That's an awesome story. I'm glad you took your just for fun visit to Iowa. I haven't heard many people say anything like that. Like, oh, I just went for fun to Iowa. You go to places like Miami or USC or something like that for that. Not Iowa. But we're sure glad you took that visit. What was that transition like coming up from that warm weather climate and spending your first winter in the Midwest? Did that just suck, or were you just really liked it, like mystified by the snow and everything like that?
It was okay. It was not bad. Just those 6 a.m. workouts and walking over from Hillcrest could be a little nippy out there, but you bundle up. But here's what got me through it. I saw guys like Sapp. So I knew Sapp forever, and I knew Colin forever. And I knew if those guys can do it, mentally I can do it. But the important thing is our season used to be over in late second week of November, if that. So I actually learned to love the cold weather and playing it versus the heat and down in South Florida. So, but it was good. It was a little, you get take some while to get used to, but once you got it, you got acclimated to it. And you had a bunch of Florida guys, so if they could do it, you figure you can do it, kind of deal.
Florida is just so stockpiled with talent. We've gotten so many good players out of there. I mean, Florida State, Miami, they can't get them all. There's so many of them that we were glad that we were able to pick you up. But you are very much credited for being a part of the spark in the transition from some of those down years when Coach Ferentz had to rebuild at the beginning, and you were part of that Orange Bowl team that really took the program to the next level. Tell us about some of the personalities on that team and what that feeling was like in the locker room and practice, knowing that something big's happening here. There's a lot of change, and it's for the positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you had, I talked about coming on a visit and meeting guys like Bob Sanders. You had Benny Sapp. You had Colin Cole. You had young Robert Gallery. You had Dallas Clark. You had Nate Caden. Everything started up front. The O-line was really good that year, 2002, when we went to the Orange Bowl. Yeah, Steinbach, Bruce Nelson. Yeah, Andy Lightfoot. You had Alonzo Cunningham. So you had a lot of guys up front, and then you had Dallas Clark at the tight end. So, and then on the opposite side of the ball, defense side of the ball, you had Colin Cole, Howard Hodges, you had Klaus, you had D-Rob, Derek Robinson. You had a lot of guys, Matt Roth. You had a lot of guys that was doing it up front and playing a lot of good ball and tough ball. And I think in the Big Ten, in a conference like that, everything happens up front. And Coach Ferentz always, communicated that to us. We got to be great up front on both sides of the ball. And then in special teams, you had guys like myself and Greenway and Ed Hinkle we didn't play a lot offense and defensively, but we took pride in running down on those kickoffs and kickoff return and being a force with it. So we was clicking offense, defense, and special teams. And with great coaches, man, a lot of things could happen.
There's some pretty great stories that get thrown around about that team in practice with guys like Matt Roth and Robert Gallery. And you guys had some very intense, Chad Greenway had some guys out there that were really, really intense and get after it. What was it like playing with some of those guys like that were just like next level? Like, when you're playing with these dudes, like they probably got a great shot to play on Sundays, and that like you're standing in front of just an exceptional athlete.
Yeah, I had a chance to talk to our incoming freshmen yesterday, and one of the things I talked to them about was the importance of scout team. And so I redshirted my first year, and then that 2002 season was my redshirt freshman year, where I played a lot of scout team and giving looks. But I think that's one of the most important years in terms of my development, because you had guys. I was competing against guys like your Eric Steinbachs and your Robert Gallery and your Dallas Clarks and your Cunningham and all this type of stuff.
Those darn timers, man, they're there on every college campus. Like, if you don't move enough within like 10 minutes, they just shut down.
I'm trying to move and do the matrix so it can stay on, but they're shooting a video in our new offices. This is our players lounge, so I figure I'd come down to the players lounge and do it. But yeah, so during that scout period time, those guys, going against those guys every day was tough, but the next season, where we was a redshirt freshman, guys like myself and Chad got an opportunity to play, we already had practice for two years against those guys up front, and competed against those guys on a high level. So they got kind of, you hurry up and really develop your game, competing against those guys on a daily basis. The other thing is, it's tough when you play with a lot of competitive guys. Chad Green, we're going to run to the ball every single play, and you're going to compete against each other. So you really can't take a play off. You really can't take a practice off, let alone a game. So competing with each other on a daily basis and pushing each other is pretty tough, because you can't, slack off one bit, because the other guy will call you out. You know what I'm saying? And then we have Bob Sanders, man, probably the best player I've played with. That
the
guy's
hitman.
The hitman himself. He's flying around and running to the football and knocking dudes out, and just a competitive level. And then you go on Sunday, you join hands together off of competing the whole week against each other, and you swarm out and you compete against the other team. So they did a great job in recruiting and bringing guys in that kind of mesh together, and it's more of a family. We love each other off the field, not just on the field. And I think when you have that bond off the field and you really love each other, shoot, game days on Saturday becomes easy.
Have they brought you in as an honorary captain yet?
I did. I think I went back in 2016, Nebraska.
Okay.
By the way, we ended up winning that game. So.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, they brought me in before. That was good.
All right, that's what I was going to ask, if that was coming up anytime soon. But you're busy on Saturdays unless you get like a bye week. But then you probably have to go out recruiting and everything like that. So how's recruiting going right now? I know that you guys are probably in the thick of that. What's that been like, the transition going from a player to a coach, learning how to recruit and really connect with young players today?
Yeah, it's funny because you find yourself so coming to Iowa, obviously, Coach Brett Bielema was my position coach. He's one of the biggest reasons I went to Iowa. He recruited me. I thought it was very important for your position coach to be able to recruit you, so versus a running back coach coming down and talking to me, trying to get, well, where's the linebacker coach? Well, Brett Bielema came down, and he was a main recruiter down in South Florida. I was bringing a lot of guys up. So I find myself taking a lot of his techniques in terms of, being real personable, being honest, he came down in 2000, I think in 99 to 2000, he got Fred Barr and Colin Cole from South Plantation.
Okay.
In that area, we looked up to Fred Barr and Colin Cole from South Plantation. All the guys around, there was big recruits coming out that area. So getting two guys from one school was really important. That kind of helped get that pipeline going. Well, in my first year here in 2019, Josiah Gaines and Miles Harding was from Miramar High School in South Florida, two of the top corners down in Broward County. So I was able to kind of go in and really bring those guys up. And, Miles Harding last year was freshman All-American here at South Dakota. He got a great career, and JoJo will be on the field as well. So there's seeing how those guys did it and creating those pipelines from Florida to Iowa. I'm kind of using some of the same techniques and things that I kind of picked up on naturally from bringing guys up from Florida to South Dakota or anywhere. But it comes down to people.
Yeah.
On my visit, Norm Parker was Norm Parker. He didn't put on the front or anything. He was who he said he was. Coach Barnes was genuine and honest. You could tell he cared about the players. So when you pick in a school, you pray to have a coach and coaches that care about the student athletes and their families. And Coach Nielsen, Bob Nielsen, he loves our guys, and he's a great leader to be under. And so being around great coaches throughout the years and being coached by great coaches, you pick up a lot of things from them and you use in your everyday life.
I'm fascinated by, not only yourself, but all of the amazing personalities and the stars and legends that were there during your time when you were there. Now, Norm Parker, one of the best to ever do it. He's a legend. Tell us about Coach Parker, what he was like in practice, what he was like as a person, and what it was like to play for him.
So coming in, Coach Brett Bielema, he was my position coach. Then I think he went to K-State. So Norm Parker was coaching the Sam Leo backers. So when Coach Bielema left, Norm Parker came over and coached the Mike and the Will. And the thing is, when he's a defense coordinator, right? So a defense coordinator coaching your position, you get to see the game from another perspective. And he's a teacher of the game, but he uses these life lessons to kind of teach you football. And obviously, he has a great sense of humor. But Norm is very serious about football. He loved the game. And if you wasn't tough, you didn't love football, you wasn't a great person, he was not going to have you around him. So he had a really high standards in terms of practicing, but you learned a lot from him. He coached a lot of guys and put a lot of guys in the NFL, and he was just a great guy and a great coach. And we was blessed to have him as not only a defensive coordinator, but also as a position coach.
So playing for Brett Bielema, I was fascinated with that hire to Illinois. That's not getting a lot of publicity, and the grades that they're giving that hire aren't great. I disagree. I think he's going to do great at Illinois. I think he's going to recruit well, and I think he's going to maximize that program to its utmost capability. What do you see for Coach Bielema, having played for him, been recruited by him, and now as a coach yourself? What do you see as what he needs to do at Illinois right now to be successful, and how do you think he's going to do there?
I think he'll do really well. I think Coach Bielema have been on some really great coaches, from Kurt Ferentz to Alvarez to going up to the Patriots and learning under that staff. So I think he's going to do really well. I think he understands. He went down to Arkansas. Obviously, being in the business for a long time, a lot of times you learn from your experiences and you put your staff around you. But he knows the Big Ten. He's been in the Big Ten. He played in the Big Ten, coached in the Big Ten at two different teams. So I think he'll do well and put in a great staff together and look forward to seeing his success there.
He's one guy I always thought would end up back at Iowa. I always just kind of felt like that he'd end up there. And then when Illinois hired him, I was like, crap. I think that's going to be. I thought that was a good hire, and I think he's going to be there for a long time. I think he was learned a lot from his experience in Arkansas. The guy can recruit. The guy's a good coach, and he had a lot of things that just didn't go his way at Arkansas. That if a few small things would have went a little bit differently, he'd probably still be there right now. So going back here to your playing days, you were a part of some pretty famous bowl games that you got to play in. Now, you were in my first bowl game ever as a Hawkeye fan that I ever got to go to was the Capital One Bowl when we played LSU, and they had just come off their national championship the year before. What a hell of a game that was. With Jamarcus Russell getting his first minutes there at the end of the game. And I remember right at the end of that game, I got to tell you this story. Like, we thought we were in control of that game. I felt like the whole time, like we had it. And then all of a sudden it's just Jamarcus Russell's in there throwing bullets and like took us by storm a little bit. And like, we're in the crowd and like, as the last play's breaking down and Drew Tate gets the ball, we all look at each other like, you got to be freaking kidding me. We've been running this game. We're going to lose. And then, of course, the rest is history. We all know what happened. The catch, one of the greatest plays in Iowa football history. Walk us through that game, how up and down that was, how exciting it was, and what you guys were feeling there at the end.
Yeah, that bowl game in the 2004 season, LSU had some dudes on that team. So
yeah.
Walking around, like, how you go to these different events and you interact with their players, you can tell that those dudes did not even think they didn't think we should be on the field with them. You had a lot of guys that was first round picks, man. That was part of that You know, you had Joseph Adai. You know, you got Corey Webster. You had a ton of guys on that team that was, Jamarcus Russell. You had a lot of guys that were really great players. But so starting the game, we kind of had a hang of the game. We had Randall. You know, we always took pride in quote unquote, you know, not allowing quarterbacks to finish the game. Randall, they starting quarterback, you know, he went down. Then you had, I want to say, brought in Matt Flynn. And he went down. Now they brings in Russell, and he's just bringing us back. We should have not taken the other two out. We should have probably would have blew him out. But he brought him back. They had Debo at the receiver. He played many years in the league, and it came down to that last play. You know, we knew it was going to be a 4-quarter game, no matter how the first quarter was because the dudes had talent on the field. And you know, I think that game was all about Warren Holloway, man. You talking about a guy that really never played at Iowa, but you watched him practice every day or train every day. That dude is going 100 miles an hour as if he's getting ready to start. So, you know, I was so happy for him that it kind of happened to him, you know, that he was able to catch that pass and be remembered that way, because I'm telling you, man, that dude is a great teammate, a great person, and it couldn't happen to a better individual.
Now we wanted to interview him for so long, and that guy is off the radar. You can't find him anywhere. He is not on social media. Like, you can't find anything about him. When they redid the practice locker room and got rid of those lockers, I bought his old locker.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so it's got his number in it and everything. And I stuck a picture up of him in there catching the pass that he had signed. So I'm like, that's my little piece of Warren Holloway. One of the.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's awesome.
And that's what everybody says about him too, how great of a guy he was and how it couldn't have happened to a better person. His first career touchdown catch was like the greatest catch of all time. So it's like, let's get that guy back in Iowa City and honor him a little bit, because
absolutely.
That was a pretty cool moment. And he did it the right way. He's like, one of those guys that embodies what a Hawkeye is all about. Moving on to the Outback Bowl the following year, I want to know a little bit about your relationship with Chad Greenway.
Are we going again?
There we go. Those timers, college campuses across America. What your relationship was like with Chad Greenway. You guys were just a force out there. And then the phantom offsides call at the end of the game, which was the most bogus call in the history of college football. Those referees got suspended after that because
is that true?
Yeah, it is true. They were Conference USA referees. I talked to Drew Tate about this. We had Drew on, and Drew said one of the referees came up to him after the game and apologized. And some guys from ESPN were like, "You guys got hosed, like big time. You guys got hosed." Well, tell us what that game was like, because we got off to a terribly slow start. Like, we were sucking there for a while, and then we hit it and went after it. And we recovered the onside kick, and they called us offsides. And it's like they replayed it a million times. And Greenway's such a freaking stud, where they asked him about it. And he's like, "I didn't think I was, but if they said I was, then I should have, I should have done better." And I'm like, man, no excuses there. Well, what was that game like?
Another talented team from the SEC. You know, Florida's always pretty good. You know, we played them in 2003 and kind of beat them. So, you know, those guys was going to be pretty good. It was kind of uncharacteristic of our team. I want to say we gave up a block punt that game that kind of, led to a lot of momentum changes. And then they might have did a fake punt or something like that. But, Coach Ferentz always talk about playing 4 quarters, and not looking at the scoreboard. And if maybe we would have got that play back, but got the onside kick back, we would have won the game or had an opportunity. But I want to say that we gave up a punt, and we gave up there's a whole lot of plays that we wish we could have had back that would have helped us towards the end of that game.
So we're walking into the stadium for that game, and those Florida fans are the worst. I don't care if they hear this. They built this giant life-size herky, and they hung him by a noose outside of the stadium, and they were chanting Gator bait the whole time. And I'm like, all right, like, that's kind of impressive. Like, that you did all of that. Like, that's kind of cool. But they were kind of rough to deal with, and they weren't the best sports, but hey, it's all good. We had a great time, and we about pulled it out. So I wanted to ask you too about playing with Chad Greenway, such a elite player, had a great pro career. Like I said, you guys were just unbelievable together out there. What type of player was he, and what was your guys' relationship like?
Chad and I was on a visit together. coming out of high school. Him, myself, Matt Rolfe, and a lot of other guys. And so we kind of just hit it off from there. And then obviously when he came in, he was actually quarterback. He was labeled as an athlete.
Okay.
I was a will backer. Matt Rolfe was a Mike. Chad was a safety / quarterback. Chad transitioned to Will. I bumped over to Mike. Rolfe bumped down to DN. So Chad and I was in the room together for 4.5, 5 years. We picked the same major. We loved each other because we could see ourselves in each other. He was a competitor. He wanted to get better. He was a great person. He was a student of the game, and we pushed each other. So we just saw two people that love football and love our families and just want to go out and win ball games and just be great teammates in the locker room and lead us to a lot of victories. So Chad and I spent a lot of time together because one thing we learned about football with Noam Parker and Fred Barr is you got to study the game. So we will go over at late night a lot of times to the complex and watch a ton of film with each other. And if on the field, we knew each other what each other was thinking because we watched film together and communicate the game day adjustments or what certain things that we're going to be facing from an offensive perspective. So when it came up, we looked at each other, knew what it was going to be, knew what the check was going to be, and make sure both of us was on the same page. But more importantly, we was blessed to play with a lot of great guys up front that took care of us. Guys like Babineau, guys like D-Rob. So guys up front, and then our senior year, you had guys like Mitch King and Kenny Weberma that came in and did a great job. So those guys up front did a great job for us in protecting us and keeping guys off of us and making plays and stuff like that. So our D-line, what Ron Aiken did with that D-line for those years, I think shoot, man, Coach Aiken did a great job. Those guys were all did a great job up front, and it allowed us to roam freely and play ball in the back end.
So I know you got to get going because you got to get back on the recruiting trail here. So we got to. I want to end with one question here. With your transition and your time in the NFL, you got to play with some characters, some big time personalities. I believe like Ocho Cinco. There was some Brett Favre experiences in there. What were some of the guys that you look back on in your playing career and you're just like, wow, I can't believe I played against that guy? Like any cool stories or experiences or anything from playing in the National Football League?
I'll say this, I was at Green Bay in 2006. I was there for a couple of years. So you had Brett Favre. You had Aaron Rodgers, so I saw that entire transition. It was a little messy, but Charles Woodson. You play with a lot of guys.
Yeah.
And then you go to Cincinnati and you got Ocho Cinco, you got Carson Palmer. So then you go to Carolina, you got Steve Smith and those guys. And I would tell anybody this, regardless of what those do off the field, those guys are competitors. And they study the game like you'll never believe, and more importantly, those guys are great guys. They're great people. I enjoyed being in the locker room with so many different personalities and guys because everyone's their own individual. But one common thing with all those guys is them dudes compete at a high level and they work their butt off and they put the time in and they pay the price to be able to be on that field on Sundays, running out of those tunnels. So it was a great experience. I played for 5 years for 3 different teams, and what I try to do is just use those experiences to pour back into student athletes here at South Dakota or just anywhere. Because that's what it's about, a lot of I was blessed to be part of a great time at Iowa, around great coaches. And I had great coaches in my life throughout high school and college and so in the NFL. So I've been blessed to be around really great people, and I want those same experiences for the guys that's part of our program.
I got to ask you I can't let you off the hook. What was that transition like from Favre to Rodgers, and what was the feeling like in the locker room? What were the guys saying, and what was the feeling?
It was. I mean, you had a lot of. This was in 2006 was Coach McCarthy's first year, and then you had that transition started to happen in 2008 season, and you just felt for both of them. You kind of felt for both parties involved because here you have legendary Brett Favre that wants to be the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers and deservedly should be able to keep competing and be the quarterback. And then you have Aaron Rodgers, who they selected in the first round to transition to to be the starting quarterback. But initially it was kind of tough because the fans, I remember, I tell people all the time, the fans love Aaron now, but I remember when they was booing him.
Oh yeah.
When they would put him in the game or whatever case may be, they were booing him. But I think at the end of the day, when you put, 53 guys in the locker room, a bunch of, highly competitive guys, no one's kind of, you don't take things too personal. Feel for both parties involved because, both of them really wanted and, but obviously it worked out pretty well for both of them. So both of them going to the Hall of Fame, so it doesn't really matter.
It's funny how life works. Like it moves in circles because it's happening all over again now. He's, Aaron's sitting out right now and, they got Jordan Love there and it's just like, hey, I remember this happening not that long ago. So
it's part of the game. Football is a business. It's a business and it's one that we all signed up for and it comes with a lot of pros, but it also has things that may not be so great. So you just keep, if anybody that puts on an NFL jersey is blessed. I don't care if you're on the practice squad and you're there for a couple of weeks or you played 13, 14 years in the league. There's only a small percentage of the population that get an opportunity to do so. So there's a lot of people in life that would have loved the opportunity just to put on the jersey and run out of tunnel. We definitely pay the price to do so. So we just got to put that in perspective as well, too. There's a lot more to life than just football.
Those are wise words by an up-and-coming coach, Coach Abdul Hodge. That's great. That's good stuff. But
I apologize for the lights turning off, man. I should have got up and moved around a little bit.
Hey, dude, it's okay. I've been in so many computer labs, when I was in college and grad school, where I'm sitting there typing, and all of a sudden the lights just shut down, and I'm like, what the hell? It happens all the time. That's their way to save some money. But Abdul, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy coaching and recruiting schedule. We wish you nothing but the best and nothing but success at USD and wherever your coaching career takes you over the years. And also, too, just wanted to, from all the Hawkeye fans, they love seeing where the Hawkeye legends are at right now, what you guys are up to. And thank you for your time as a Hawkeye, all the great things that you did. They'll never be forgotten. We still talk about you to this day. We're still watching those old highlight videos, the old geezer on a Friday night with a stiff drink in my hand, watching the old Capital One Bowl on YouTube. So we appreciate all the awesome things you did. And again, just wish you nothing but the best in your coaching career and journey.
Appreciate you. Thanks for all your support throughout the years. And let's do it again. Have me back on sometime in the future. I'd love to come back on. So, Iowa's great to me. The fan base has a lot of great support, and look forward to speaking to you in the future. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you back on. Go Hawks and go Coyotes.
Go Hawks and go Yotes. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you, man.
Take care.